In the year 1976, a legend was born. No, not this legend. A legendary piece of prosumer live audio equipment was born. For decades, it lived in many a church and school auditorium, until one day, some mysterious, unknown audio engineer figured out it could be used to things up in interesting and pleasing ways. Years passed, yarns were spun, stories were told, comments were typed. But never did this humble piece of audio equipment make it onto the U of tubes for a proper demo.
Hello and welcome. I am David Peters. We are back in my studio, Oak House Recording in Pasadena, California, where I spend my days mixing records for people, making records with people, coaching people on how to make and mix records for other people, and all that jazz. And today's kind of a really fun video because we're going to cover something that I cannot believe has not been covered here thoroughly before. And this video comes thanks of my good friend Patrick Brannon for suggesting this video and also for loaning me this, an original Shure Level-Loc. This little box is the inspiration for Soundtoys Devil-Loc plugin, which is very popular out there. It is also the inspiration for this, the standard audio Level-Loc. This is their new rack mount version with extra bells and whistles, but all of these popular units started here. And I don't think on YouTube anyone has ever played with one of these boxes. So today we're going to play with one of these boxes.
And there was much rejoicing.
So probably the most famous lover of the Level-Loc is Chad Blake, but I first heard about it through producer David Fridmann. So I got my recording degree at Fredonia State in Western New York. And that's the program that David Fridmann had gone through, but now he was teaching a class there. And I got to intern at his Tarbox Road studios. Now this was around the time when the Flaming Lips were in, and they were working on their Zerika record and their record, The Soft Bulletin. And I got to be a fly on the wall for a lot of those sessions and watch David work. But one of the lessons I learned from David is just how much magic can be found in these kind of weird little unique esoteric boxes. And they didn't have to be expensive, fancy things. One lesson I did not learn from David was to actually just buy the Level-Loc then, when they could probably be had for under $100, instead of now when you got to pay over $1,000 if you can even find one. So what is a Shure Level-Loc? Well, one thing it is noisy. Can you hear it? But what it really is it is simply a compressor. It is a compressor designed for public address systems. Think of someone giving a speech in the school auditorium up at the podium. Think of somebody giving us, talking at a church or at an outdoor event. And so this is just a compressor to help balance out the dynamic range of the speaker. So, but it works a little bit differently than compressors that you're used to in the studio. In the studio, if you want to work with a compressor, you take your microphone, it goes through your preamp, it goes in your compressor, and then out to your recorder. The Level-Loc is a little different. The Level-Loc is built to accept microphone level. So it goes microphone in directly into the Level-Loc and then into your mic preamp. And this is going to be important later when we talk about how people use and misuse these things. So the controls on the front are pretty simple. There's a little switch in the middle, which is simply a threshold switch. It's not labeled threshold. It's labeled in regards to the distance that someone might be from a microphone. So you have your threshold switch, and then you have your input level. Now this is a fixed threshold, besides this little switch, compressor, and the ratio is about 100 to 1. It is like a really severe brick wall limiter. Let's take a listen to that. As I raise the input level, we're going to raise my voice level up until it hits the threshold. Then you're going to hear it really start to compress. And here I come. I'm coming forward. But it really just starts compressing, like really crazy compressing. And it sounds pretty neat. It sounds pretty intense. So it is no surprise that some audio engineer hearing this crazy box decided to stick a microphone in front of, say, a drum kit, or maybe in front of a guitar amp or a bass amp, or maybe onto a voice, just like I'm doing right here, because it sounds pretty crazy. And it has this really great spongy kind of compression and a little bit of overdrive to it that's just kind of compelling sounding. So that's one way that people use or misuse the Level-Loc, is just sticking it, after a microphone to blow up a certain sound, whatever they're trying to record. Okay, so maybe you're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, that's great if I'm recording drums and I can plug a microphone into this thing, but what if I want to use it as a hardware inserts on drums I've already recorded? Because my hardware inserts are line level, and this thing wants to see mic level, so what do? Well, you need to get your level back down to mic level somehow. So some sort of inline pad would do the trick. You could use a box like this. This is what I'm using for these samples today. This is an Avitas Audio LPZ2. This is just a pair of step-down audio transformers in here that bring the level down and get the impedances all nice for a mic input. It's just kind of a clean way to bring things from line level to mic level, okay? Or you could just not use this and just plug it in and see what happens, but we'll get to that later. So with all that said, let's go actually take a listen to this thing on some drums. Okay, here we are over at our fun pile of toys. We're going to start by listening to the Shure Level-Loc to get, our reference of the original. Let's check it out. I'm going to start with our drum loop where Kyle's playing the drums. I have an RCA 44 ribbon mic sitting in the middle of the kit. That's the microphone we're listening to. We're going to start with the raw signal. This is our raw signal. I'm going to insert the Level-Loc. Okay, not much change because we haven't hit the threshold yet. Okay, but as I raise the input level, we're going to start to hit that super hard threshold. Pretty different. Back to our original. Let's see what happens if we keep going. It just kind of falls apart or stays super compressed and never comes back. There's our sweet spot again. Let's see what happens if we do move this switch. It kind of changes the timing of things. But if we come back down, because we lowered our threshold. So now if we lower our input level, we kind of return to the same sound. And that's pretty much what a Level-Loc sounds like on its compression mode. Let's hear it with the rest of the drum set in context. I'm going to bring it down. And those are our drums as they are without this. Big difference, right? I'm going to sneak it up. And there it is. I'm going to take it out. You can hear how effective this simple tool can be. Okay, but there is more to the story. The Level-Loc is not just famous for being a fun, squishy, intense compressor, to kind of blow things up. It has another way to blow things up. Somebody along the line probably thought that this was just a normal compressor and then fed this thing with line level when what it really wanted to see was microphone level. And of course, that's going to overload the input of this. And let's check out what that sounds like. So as I'm talking into this, we start to get into our compression, but we are also getting some overdrive, you can hear. And as I keep going up, it just keeps getting more intense and more intense and more intense. And here we are. We are now in a whole different world. This is another very cool sound. And somebody obviously heard this and thought, I want some of that on my recording. So that's the Level-Loc's second trick. And we're going to get more into that with this and the other units we're looking at today later. So let's take a quick listen to this setup where the Level-Loc is now receiving line level. And let's hear what that does to our drum sample. This is raw. I'm going to insert the Level-Loc. Okay, not much happening because we're not pushing that much level into it yet, but check it out. No more compression, now it's just crunch. This sound might be familiar if you're used to a Level-Loc's crunch setting or the Devil-Loc's crunch setting. All that is the Level-Loc receiving line level. Let's hear it with the rest of the drum kit quickly. So you can hear it does almost a completely different thing when you feed it with line level versus mic level. That's the difference between crush versus crunch, like you would see on the Devil-Loc plugin, or the level versus crunch as you'll see on the Level-Loc. So let's take a quick look at the controls of the Level-Loc, because there's a bit more going on here than on the original Level-Loc. The only thing they really share in common is an input level control, so you can push the level up into that threshold. There's also an output level control, which is super handy, and of course a mix knob so you can blend wet and dry signals. Over here you have a switch that where you can bypass and then go into compression if you set it in the level setting. You always feed it with line level, and up top you get the compression of the Level-Loc, and on the bottom you get the crunch of an overdriven Level-Loc. And of course, remember, bypass is in the middle. If you are on the Level-Loc setting, the compression setting, you also have 3 release times. This is different from the Level-Loc. This is an addition. The slow position is what the original Level-Loc was set at, but you can speed it up a little bit by going to medium and then to fast. Now, if you are in crunch mode, that other switch changes a little bit. This switch over here now becomes a low pass filter. And in the top position, the low pass filter is off. If you bring it down, it starts cutting off the high frequencies at 15K. And if you bring it down once more, it starts cutting off the frequencies at 8K. And that helps tame some of the crazy distortion and harmonics on the top end. It's a really nice additional feature. So here is where this revision of the Level-Loc becomes even more interesting, is this middle switch. In the middle position on this middle switch, you have 2 separate levelers. They are separated, they act independently. If you push that switch up, you get them to be sidechain linked. So if you are in Level-Loc compressor mode, it will kind of softly link the sidechain so you can more easily compress stereo signals. If you push this button into the bottom position, it now cascades channel 1 into channel 2. So you can crunch up things on channel 1 and then you can compress on channel 2, or you can compress on channel 1 and then crunch things up on channel 2. It opens up a whole world of possibilities. And of course, as you can also see on this unit, there are DI inputs on both channel 1 and channel 2, a bass guitar, a synth, something coming out of a guitar pedal. You can go right in and apply your signal there. So let's just listen to it. Here's our drum sample. Let's take this mix knob down. It's a really handy feature to have. You can take it a little further than a Level-Loc, or dial it back a little more. There are also different release settings. The slow setting is most like the original Level-Loc, but you can speed it up a little bit too. The medium has a little bit more pump than the fast. The fast is a little bit more of a smash. And then slow again. What's really fun about pushing it too far is you can get it pumping in rhythm. And then blend it in. And that's a totally different sound. Let's hear it in context with the rest of the drums. Almost like having a delay on it. Let's put the rest of the band in. Take it out. I miss it. Just gives a little bit more of a swing, a little bit more head bop. So whenever they ended up going to make the standard audio Level-Loc, I think they started by copying the original, but then people kept asking for modifications to the original, so they kept tweaking the circuit, and now the Level-Loc is kind of its own beast. And then the Devil-Loc, I can't really tell if they're trying to copy the Level-Loc or the Level-Loc, because it kind of sounds like a Level-Loc, but they have features on it from the Level-Loc, and it all kind of gets wrapped up into this ball. But we're going to listen to all three of them today and see what's going on with it.
And there was much rejoicing.
So I have our same drums here, and I made a parallel track with it being distorted by these processors, and I'll slowly fade in the processing here first with the Level-Loc. Now with the Level-Loc. Now with the Devil-Loc. So you can hear they're all doing a very similar thing, but they all do speak a little bit differently, and each can be adjusted a little differently. On the Devil-Loc, I hear a bit more top end, but it does have that darkness control. So let's check that out. This is with it set at darkness about 3, but so I can control where the crunch is hitting in the spectrum. So I do not have a slider for darkness on the Level-Loc, but there is a toggle switch that has a low-pass filter on it, and you can either just take the low-pass filter out, which is the top position here, or you can dip it at 15K or 8K. Let's take a listen to see if we can even hear that on this snare drum, because there's a lot going on here. So this is low-pass filter out. It's 15K. It's 8K. Yeah, you can hear it. One of people's favorite uses for these boxes is crunching up bass guitars. So let's check it out. Here it is raw. Level-Loc. Level-Loc. Devil-Loc. So much of the sound of these is how hard you hit them. They tend to speak in different areas of the spectrum depending on how hard you hit them. You get different amounts of overdrive on them. It's really hard to do a direct A-B comparison because as soon as you turn these knobs a little bit, they kind of start to speak differently. Like on our Level-Loc, now you get more of the upper mids. Now you get more mids. Okay, hopefully this has been a good introduction to all things Shure Level-Loc. I know we probably could have spent all day running stuff through this thing because it's kind of fun, but this is all I really have time for today. So hopefully you got a good understanding of the Shure Level-Loc and its offspring, the Standard Audio Level-Loc and the Soundtoys Devil-Loc. As far as the Level-Loc is concerned, this is my first time I've ever really messed with one directly. I do use a Devil-Loc plugin a lot. I don't own anything else besides that at the moment. But the Level-Loc was really fun. I was really surprised how much it could compress, and even though it's overdriving a bit, still kind of hang together. It was really impressive. That's a 100-to-1 ratio compressor. And so it's really fun for blowing up different microphones and drum tracks. It's really fun on a parallel channel for just about anything. I've used them on vocals before, on bass before, on drums before, just about anything you can imagine. It could make a really fun parallel processor on. And the same goes for the Level-Loc. I've seen those in tons of studios out there. So let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. Share your thoughts, share your insights. Tell me where I got things wrong. Maybe give me some further insight onto, you know, whatever we talked about here today. And just leave some love. Leave a like if you appreciated the video. And that's all I got. We'll do another one soon. If you have suggestions, let me know. With all that, it's time to say goodbye. Parting is such sweet sorrow. We'll see you on the next one.